You have to continue to evolve. So for me, it's always been about being a part of the veteran community and then trying to share those lessons. So the veteran-led book is important to me right now.
What are their top 3 bullet points or businesses and or ventures that are taking up the most of your time right now, so they can get a feel for what makes up John Berry right now?
Yeah, it's amazing because it changes so much. So we've hit the Inc. 5000 list 6 years in a row. And to grow, you got to keep changing it up. You can't do the same things and expect different results. And so the things I'm doing now, number one, finishing up the book, Veteran-Led, about my military experiences. I didn't want to be the Jocko or the David Goggins, that tell the world that, hey, you can be a super athlete too. But it's more about taking every veteran who has those basic skills that we learn in the military, that I know you learned, Chris,
yeah, and
applying them in business or in whatever they do when they get out. Because the reality is that the 22 deaths a day, veteran suicides, is real. I've had 3 of my soldiers commit suicide since I got out. So I want to provide that purpose. And I was really motivated years ago. A friend of mine started a CrossFit gym near Fort Benning. And at one point they had 5 of them. They consolidated into one. And I showed up, we had a few beers, and he says, all right, I'll see you at 5 a.m. And I showed up at 5 a.m. And there's these amputees, there's some older veterans, there's military spouses, and they're all doing CrossFit. And it was kind of like, what's your excuse? And It was funny, there was this young captain, he was a captain, he got out, he's disabled, and he was one of the coaches. And my buddy Chris started yelling at him because he wasn't getting on me for getting low enough on the squats.
Nice.
Right? And so I look at the world that way, as you have to continue to evolve. So for me, it's always been about being a part of the veteran community and then trying to share those lessons. So the veteran-led book is important to me right now. We are building our own courtroom. I think that, unfortunately, I've seen a lot of lawyers who maybe did well in law school struggle. And they struggle because they're not training. Think about the sports, right? Think about the Huskers in the 80s, where we had the strength training room, which, by the way, had a little turf. I don't know if you guys remember, but there's a little turf section there for people to run their 40s and do the agility drills. And then they moved on to building a field house where you could actually, I think it's called the Cook Field House, where they practice. And for attorneys in any profession, it should be the same thing. You need realistic training. Once again, something I learned from the military. It's real easy to go out and shoot expert, but it's a lot different when you're shooting, moving, and communicating. And so you need that realistic training to make good lawyers. So the courthouse, the book, and then the final thing is really the tech piece of it. When we look at the unique abilities of our team members, I like to think about how can I amplify them? How can I get them out there so that they can do more, not just so that they can win more cases, make more money, feel more fulfilled, but so that they can reach their potential. So there's a lot of technological advances that we're making. I'd love to tell you that we're inventing stuff. We're not. We're just following the industry. But in the legal industry, just following, I think, the business industry, you're way ahead of the game.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think you're selling yourself short a little bit by saying that you're just, because you're actually implementing things that is in a realm that is relatively archaic.
Yeah. And I mean, most lawyers, when they come to our office, they're blown away. In our non-client facing spaces throughout our offices, I've got 6 what I call jumbotrons. And this comes from Mike Morse's book, Fireproof. I went and visited him, and he's talking about his jumbotrons. And I'm in his office, I don't see him. And it turns out these jumbotrons, we go into his COO's office, and there's a bunch of Excel spreadsheets that he has on a screen, but that's not what I envisioned. So I created it. I used a program called Domo, which most businesses can use, and basically it streams the data into my 70-inch screens, and then every 10 seconds it refreshes with my top 10 metrics. So that way, and look, it's a leaderboard. So that way, the people who are competitive get to see what the score is every day. I mean, God, I can't imagine living a life where I don't know if I'm winning or losing every day. That's what's so great about being a trial lawyer is if you won or you lost. But I love to give my team members that experience. And that's why we love to hire veterans, former athletes, farm kids, people that have paper outs, people who want to know what the score is, people who care about metrics. Because at the end of the day, how do you measure your growth if you don't know where you are or where you're going and you don't see it day after day? But can you imagine, Chris, especially in your business? I mean, look, at some point, especially for people who are successful like you, it's not about the money for your lifestyle anymore, right? It doesn't. If either of you had an extra $5 million, over the next 5 years, would it make a difference in your life?
No.
Would you quit? Would you stop working?
Absolutely not.
Right. And so the main thing is, but how would you, but you could measure your success that way, right?
Absolutely.
And I know for people that are driven like you guys, that's it. You need the number.